Can you hear me?
I can.
We're going to get this thing figured out, girl.
I'm not even gonna tell you about all my technology issues today.
Oh, that must mean this is gonna be the bomb interview, because I've been having all kind of issues all week long. I'm like, and I tried to send you like some interview questions. I don't know, but then it looked like the attachment never even went through a few days ago.
You know, we're in Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is a planet that controls communication, technology, and transportation. So right at the beginning of Mercury retrograde, I had to end up getting a new truck because my other truck just stuff started going wrong. And the last retrograde, because Mercury controls transportation also, my truck was acting up. So like astrologically, when planets go on
does it do something really, really weird to the Geminis? Because I'm just all over the place. Over the last 3 days, I'm all over the place.
Mercury is our ruling planet.
I know, and it's like, what is going on?
It impacts us. It impacts us more than other people. Us and I think Virgos. Mercury is the ruling planet for Virgos, so it impacts the signs who Mercury is their ruling planet, like even more than others. And so now that but the purpose, like spiritually, like the purpose of Mercury retrograde, because what that means is that the planet just slows down and ends up moving slower than the rest of the planets. But what that means is a time to release and reflect. And so like there are changes or things in your life that aren't serving you, and you need to like release them and grow from there. So the stuff with my truck is that I knew I needed a new truck. Like I just loved it so much, but it was getting to the point where like it was costing me so much money, but I refused to let it go. This Mercury retrograde made me let my truck go. So it'll make you let things.
Same thing with my phone. I didn't want to get rid of it, but I needed to, and I didn't want to spend the money. That makes so much sense. And then the crazy part about it is because my sun sign is a Gemini, but my moon sign, I'm a Virgo.
So you got the double whammy.
Girl, I'm over here. These last 3 days I have never felt like I'm feeling. I'm like, what is going on over here? But we're going to keep on pushing though. But it's been just really like.
It's 10 more days of the retrograde, 10 more days.
So maybe I'll just stay in the house.
That's what everybody doing, hunkering down.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for making that make sense, because I couldn't put it together, but I knew it was something weird is like happening, and I'm like, what is going on?
It impacts all the signs,
relationships and all kinds.
Yes, especially with relationships. So it impacts every sign differently, but it's all things that need to be released and reflected on. And so like the energy with Mercury retrograde, it creates a lot of tension. It's a lot of energy of tension and conflict in the air. So because it's the planet of communication, you're supposed to be really careful about how you communicate with people that are important to you, because the energy is driving us. It's like creating all this instability with our emotions and our feelings. And so we're supposed to reflect on that and carefully choose our words when we're talking to people that are important to us.
That makes so much sense.
And if it's a relationship that needed to die, Mercury retrograde is gonna make it die.
But here's the crazy thing is, and I'm probably at least the last several days, for the most part, I've just been like totally isolated. You know what I mean? Like I can't really get anybody on the phone. I'm not really feeling like being around anybody, and it's like it's just weird. But it's just been really. I've been so isolated. You know, like. That I'm kind of like concerned, like, okay, is this normal to just be feeling like you just,
No, that's your lesson. That's your lesson for Mercury retrograde. That's your lesson that you are supposed to spend some time alone in reflection.
Okay. Well, it's okay.
Yep.
So 10 more days.
10 more days. Yep.
Okay. And I've just been like, okay, I've been looking forward to this, to the interview. And I'm like, because
I was talking about you at the gym today.
Really?
Yeah.
I said, I got some real Black girl magic for y'all. So, okay. So the thing with Anchor, and this is another thing. So this is another sign, what I didn't want to let go, but I knew I needed to switch to the visual, because I think I've been more comfortable and kind of hiding behind, in a sense, doing the audio interviews. And I know that I need to do the visual, because that's just the way of the world now. Yeah. So the fact that this doggone, what do you call it? Anchor would not even come on or work.
Yeah.
it's confirmation, really. You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
So what about your podcast then? Can you
So
record our
yeah,
conversations then? Okay.
this is what I'm doing now. So now, because I recently started, so what I'm going to do now, this Zoom, my son came by and he showed me how to do it. I'm just going to take the Zoom once we get done interviewing or whatever, then I'm going to kind of like edit if I need to. And then he showed me how to just save it in my downloads, and then I can download it right to my phone and basically just upload it to my YouTube. And people can just go there and watch it. And, we can just kind of like X the whole anchor thing out. I mean, because well, as far as I know, some people just like to listen while they're driving or whatever the case might be. But I know that the way things are now, it's all about visual, and
Yeah.
we both fine, so we'll give them something good to look at anyway. You look beautiful. So you just got done training?
I did. Actually, I just got done teaching.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
I trained first. I went in and I took wrestling because I love wrestling. I always train wrestling because it helps me with competitions. So I did that, and then after that, I had to teach. So I taught tonight.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's okay. I got all those questions too. So I just we'll just back up a little bit. And so first of all, for you all that are listening, I have with me the beautiful, wonderful Dr. Amber Tucker. She is all Black girl magic personified. And I'm just so happy that she agreed to join me tonight. And I feel like I already know you. She's my homegirl, and I'll be home in a couple of weeks too. So we're gonna have to get together. And it's just amazing to have you here. And I think that what you're doing as far as the MMA, because I don't know a lot of women. I know a lot of women that are in martial arts, but as far as doing what you do, I want to talk more about that too. And you can give me some more insight on that. But I kind of wanted to back up and have you just maybe tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Like, like, of course, we know you live in Milwaukee, but I think I read that you're from Gary, Indiana.
That's my hometown, GI, Steel City.
Okay, so how did you make the trip? Tell me about growing up. How was life growing up for you? Were you like, you have a big family, or did you come from a smaller family, and what was it like?
Oh yeah, my family's huge. My mom's family, and both my parents are from Gary, born and raised, grew up there through adulthood. And both sides of my family are huge. My mom's family is really big, but in the 80s, I don't know, I don't want to go into a huge history about Gary, but their major economy was a steel industry, and everybody worked there, made a good living. But after that tanked, that was the only economy that they had there. So folks just started migrating out. And so Milwaukee was the next step. My mom had some family here. She came here with her best friend. We came here as kids.
Okay.
We didn't know anything about Milwaukee, but Gary was beautiful to me. I mean, I know I probably romanticized it a little bit because I was a kid when I left, but I did attend school there. And Gary for me was like, seeing Black people everywhere was normal. Like my teachers were Black, the principal was Black, the store owners were Black. I mean, like there was some diversity, but it was a majority Black city. And so it was normalized for me to see Black people as teachers, store owners, and like various different professional roles or just different roles in the community, like your neighbors. We grew up, Gary's such a small town, and like I remember just at my grandmother's house and how like the whole block knew you and like could discipline you if you weren't doing that.
Everybody knew the house, or at least the street where the Jacksons grew up at, right?
Yep. That, like, my mom had stories of growing up, or when she was in school, high school, they would come to the local high schools and perform before they were famous. And so my mom used to watch them perform, like Michael Jackson, all the Jacksons. So it's still there. And, the city's depressed now. It has been economically depressed for, the last couple of decades because there hasn't been any real reinvestment back into the city. And that's actually one of my like long-term dreams, is that like for me, everything I'm doing is helping to set me up so that I can heavily financially invest back into things that like I'm passionate about. And Gary is one of those places. It was just so special to me growing up, especially moving to an environment where Blackness wasn't normalized here and was very different. And so that city just to me was, has so much like potential. It just needs some love and nurturing. And so that's a long-term goal. I have many goals, but that's one of my long-term goals is to do something around nurturing and regrowing Gary, because that just was, man.
I get it. I get it. Like many, many years ago, when we used to do the competition, karate, and Gary was one of the places that we used to go to tournaments there. So I went there a few different times. But it's funny what you just said about that's why I know for sure that you're all Black girl magic, because you being able to thrive like you're thriving in a place that you're at, and I know a lot about Milwaukee because I'm from there too, and to be able to thrive in the fields that you're thriving in, I said, oh yeah, she made out of some special stuff, because I know the struggle of being, there versus being somewhere like, that's predominantly Black, like somewhere like, Atlanta or something like that. I know Wisconsin is, it can be challenging for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has been, because most of the spaces that I've navigated in my life, they've not been spaces where Blackness was normalized. So I had to learn that like the hard way of how to figure it out, versus people who are from here and like they had already had generations of knowledge on how to navigate this city. And so, in a sense, it was like my mom and I and my other two sisters just figuring out, how to do it. And we've done it. I'm still doing it. I go home. Recently I've gone home pretty frequently, but growing up, for the first, I want to say like almost 10 years that we were here, I didn't even really think that we moved to Milwaukee, because we used to go home so much. It's only 250 miles away.
Yeah.
And so that feeling for me, that feeling of home place is really interesting. Bell Hooks, one of my favorite Black feminist scholars, she writes about that, about the importance of home place and like the Black community, and like that's my home place. Because it was funny, somebody has said to me recently, and I've had this for a while, like people say, you say go home in your hometown, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, but you've been in Milwaukee like 30 some years, like you're from Milwaukee now. Like, no, I'm not. I don't have that home place connection. Like, no matter how depressed and the Gary looks, like structurally and even with the people, it's something about when we get close to it on a highway, on the interstate, it's like my heart just like,
yeah, because
you get this feeling.
Home is where the heart is. That's where your heart is. Like
that's
you
my
said,
heart is.
hard to make sure you can impact it in a positive way and go. I get that. I really do. And
Milwaukee has my heart too, though, because it needs a lot of work. And so I'm also passionate about Milwaukee. And so, I do a lot of community stuff, but even though I say that, my home and Gary and all that, but like, this is the place where my daughter, this is her home. This is her hometown. She was born and raised here. And so like, I have
your daughter.
She's 20.
She's 20. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah,
okay. So that's all she knows. And she knows Milwaukee as home for her.
Oh, she knows Gary just as much as I do, because she went home. She went back to Gary. She used to say to me when she was little,
going back to Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah. She used to say, Mom, you got a place to go back to, and I don't have a place to go back to. And I said, well, that's why it's so important that whatever you do in your life, that travel is going to be one of those things. And I want you to be able to experience going somewhere else so you can appreciate home more. So you can feel good when you go travel and you can say, I'm going back home. And so Milwaukee's going to feel that way. I didn't turn her off to feeling this way about Milwaukee, like just because I'm from a different place. I just wanted her to understand the concept of home place.
Okay. And you just have the one child?
Yeah. My baby.
Beautiful baby. Okay, cool. So let me see. What else did I want to ask you? So you did your elementary education you did in Gary. So did you do high school in Milwaukee or?
Middle school and high school, and then some parts of elementary school. And for middle school, I went to suburban public school, and woo, that was traumatized. Whoa. Yeah.
Culture shock,
pretty bad.
right?
Huh?
Kind of like culture shock for you, huh?
It was racially traumatized.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was more than culture shock. It was racially traumatized. I was this little brown skinned girl from Gary. People are always curious about this, even though Gary is like the most northern city in Indiana. It still has its roots in the South, like the foundations of it. So like you growing up there, you have this little like Southern twang. It's just a little twang, but it's detectable. Like some people in my family is very detectable. So I was this brown girl. I had this Southern twang. I remember getting into it with my teacher when I was in school up here because I asked to go to the water fountain. It's a funny story. I tell my students this all the time. And I was like, you Wisconsin people just weird. So I asked to go to the water fountain, and she tried to correct me, and she said, you mean bubbler? And I said, no, I mean water fountain. And she said, no, you mean, and her and I went back and forth to the point where she was trying to punish me. And I was like, listen, lady, I don't know what no bubbler is, but I do know what a drinking fountain is. And she thought she was gonna get, I probably was like 10 years old. She tried to get one over on me. She said, well, what does the water do when you turn it on? It bubbles, doesn't it?
Oh, stop it.
I said, no, it comes out like a fountain.
That's funny. So I bet, so you probably, the friends that I had that were in like Gary and Chicago, they would say pop. They say
Yes,
pop.
wow. It on the convenience stores in Gary, how you know how it says chips, candy, cigarettes, alcohol. It says chips, candy, pop.
Uh-huh. And
I
you
was
come to Milwaukee and it's like soda. They're like, what is soda? That is
right.
so funny. And so
It's very unique to Wisconsin. You know, I still love it with all its idiosyncrasies.
yeah, and we're in the cold weather. We'll talk about that too, because I got to brace
Mhm.
myself. I'm on my way back.
Oh,
Yeah,
girl.
I know. So let me ask you this. So then, so you went to so where did you go to high school?
I went to Juneau High School, Juneau
Okay.
Business, Solomon Juneau Business High School. It's closed now. But it was a very small. So I ended up for high school. I couldn't go back to the suburbs. I told my mom, I was like, because there's a high school that I was supposed to go to that was connected to the middle school, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going back to the suburbs. And so
Mhm.
she let me transfer back into NPS because my mom was just really particular about education. And she used to say things like, you know, before she enrolled us in schools, she said that she would go up there and check out the schools and she would ask the teachers, do you like your job? Because she said that I didn't want my children attending any school where a teacher didn't like their job. And so she was very particular about me transferring back into NPS. You know, it had a reputation for, you
Okay.
know,
I
like
would, I would.
underdeveloped education. And so I went to, so the compromise was Juneau because it was like one of the smallest high schools at NPS. Um,
Solomon Juno, right?
yep,
Yeah,
yep. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I graduated from there. Yep.
Oh, okay. So you went to Juno, and then where did you go to college? Did you stay in Wisconsin, or did you go?
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to UWM for all of my degrees.
Oh, okay, 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 cool. And so, what was your inspiration then in getting your PhD? So, and what is your field of study, and what was your inspiration behind that to go
Mhm.
to study?
My field of study is adult learning and development. So I particularly study identity development amongst Black women,
Oh,
and the context is higher education. So I've been looking at that context, but I'm actually working on some new research because what came out of it was a lot of trauma, and like trauma in ways that we don't even think about trauma, like trauma from like you know, economic scarcity, like being poor. You know, that's a traumatizing experience, and so we don't often talk about it. But I can talk later about that. My inspiration for my PhD was my daughter. That's why I went to college in the first place. Like I almost didn't graduate high school. I had to go. I was failing. I had to go to MATC to make up some credits. I just hated high school. Like the social experience was just terrible. I
mm,
didn't I didn't fit in. I never felt like I fit in, you know. I didn't, you know, we didn't have money. We were poor. I still had my little accent. You know, I was brown and I just felt so different and disconnected from a lot of the Black folks here, but
mhm.
by no fault of their own. It's just that I felt disconnected because I wasn't from here. And so like I just didn't have that experience of growing up and knowing Milwaukee to share. And so I just always felt so different. And, you know, the class issue, like, you know, that was a challenge for me because, you know, a lot of the Black folks that I was around, like students, like their parents are like lower middle, you know, middle class, upper class. I
Mhm.
remember when I was at in middle school in the suburbs, it was like a couple of some of my classmates, they were Black and they were talking about which cars their mothers drove. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of like a competition. And so one kid was like, my mom drives an Acura. And another one was like, my mom drives a Camry. And so like they were all talking about that. And then they looked at me, I was like, what car did your mom drive? My mom didn't have a car then. And so I just was like really embarrassed. And I like walked away because I was like, your parents got cars, you know, like
Oh,
yeah, we had lived in the projects for a while. So um but but that to me, and so that actually became one of my areas. That's one of my areas of like research and like advocacy, you know, when we start talking about social class and things like that, you know, and how that impacts and influences our experiences. But that's also my motivation for going to college. My first was my daughter, and had my daughter when I was 21, and I was working like 3 jobs. I was working for NPS as a para, and I was bartending on the side, and I just knew that's not the life that I wanted, because I was just grinding all the time. And then I had this young baby, and then
Yeah.
I also thought, yeah. And so my mom, she's a retired police officer, so she ended up doing really well, like economically and like socially and all this stuff, like later on in life. And her journey always inspired me, because when we moved to Milwaukee, we had nothing. We literally had nothing. We used to live off of like Second and Burleigh. Then we lived in Parkline. And so just watching my mom like that, that just motivated me so much. Like my mom is like my biggest inspiration.
That's so
And so I wanted my
was a
daughter to look at
Milwaukee
me.
police officer, your mom?
Yep, she just retired like 2 years ago. My sister is also too. She's a sergeant.
Really? I might know them. I was a Milwaukee police officer.
Yeah, oh, really? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a violent crimes detective with
Oh,
Milwaukee.
I'm sure you do.
I'm sure that I know them.
I'm sure you do. But
Wow. What a small
but my
world.
mom, she just made me so proud, and so like I want my daughter to feel that way about me one day. Not that she couldn't have been proud of me like working jobs, but I was just grinding all the time. And so I was like, well, let me try this school thing out, because my mom actually wanted me to be a police officer. And I went, took the test, and I just knew it in my heart. I had to tell her like that's not my life. But my mom was just concerned about stability, health insurance, things like that. And so, the compromise was, I was like, well, I'm going to college. So I tried college. I enrolled when I was like 21, or I thought, no, I was like 23, something like that, 22, 23. And once I started, I just kept going. I just kept going. School was different. It wasn't like the experience that I had in high school. Like, I knew I was smart. When we first got here, my sisters and I used to test out of the water. They were always trying to skip, all 3 of us. They always wanted to skip us grades when we got here. We used to score super high on the standardized test, all 3 of my sisters, because of the education that we had when we got here from Gary. And so I knew I was smart. It was just the social part that I just couldn't, it was just something that didn't click for me. So when I got to college, it was just different, because all I had to do was go there, show up for class, do my work, and go home and go take care of my daughter. Like, I didn't have to, it wasn't like a whole day experience of hanging out with people that I didn't vibe with, like in high school. And then, started getting the validation and feedback where, professors would tell me like, I never met anybody that thought like you, and you're so critical, da, da, da. And like, I would always say like, that's my mom. Like, like the biggest gift that she ever gave me
Beautiful.
for as an adult and as a parent was thinking. That's like the best gift my mother ever gave me, because she used to always, when we were kids, ask us all the time why we did something. She would say why. She would always ask us why, and I didn't understand the importance of that, because it made you think. And
Yeah.
people don't like to think. Like, you have to really sit and think. And so that thinking shaped my thinking. And so I parented like my mom. Like, I made sure my daughter, that was the most important gift. I told her, I was like, I can't give you all the material things that you want, but I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna give you arm you with the best tool to survive in this life, and that's how to think. And I was like, because you can think your way out of anything. And that's how I ended up where I am, is because of my ability to think. I was able to think myself up out of my situations. And so, like school, I
Yeah.
was, my daughter's father and I had broken up. And so at that point I was a single parent, and, I just was like lost searching. And I was like, I was thinking like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I was like, college. So I went to school, and here I am.
Isn't that
13 years, 13 years of schooling straight, no break, no
but,
break. I took
but
no
I'm
break.
sure that, and kudos to your mom for just being
Yeah.
such a wonderful influence and a great role model for you. And I always say though, it's like, even what you went through when you were, in school, and you were, not connecting or fitting in and feeling out of place. It's a trip, because it's like, I'm such a firm believer in all of our steps are ordered anyway. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Everything just leads us to where we eventually, where we land, you know what I'm saying? And where we, so all of that, I'm sure, helped to make you who you are. You know what I mean? So, and that's just, and then to be able to still smile and still be, you know what I mean? Just pleasant and everything like that. This is,
Yeah.
you're living out your destiny. This is,
Yeah.
God ordained for you, I'm sure.
Oh,
Um,
it's all divine. It's all divine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
That
he made you a Gemini too, so we adaptable. You know what I'm saying? We can go to fit in places where, not necessarily fit in, but adapt to the situation to get done what we need to get done. You know what I
And
mean?
and Gemini is an air sign. They're all about intellectuality, logic, and reason. So it also makes sense that I would have all these degrees, right? Because
That's
that's
right.
my happy place. Reading and learning. That's
Yes,
like that's such my happy place for me.
yes, yes,
So
yes. Me too. I get it. I get it. I get it. And so
yeah.
now I want to talk about, oh, how did you get into the martial arts? What was your inspiration? Was it somebody that, well, just tell me how you found your way there? Because I know you're excelling in that too. So how did you decide or figure out that this was something, or did you even know this would be something that you would like as much as you do? It just kind of.
Not at all. No, actually, what got me in a Miss Martial Arts was my mental health. I had been diagnosed, but my therapist told me I had a whole life that I had dysthymia, which is like it's a mood disorder. So it's like it's depression, but it's like a flat level of depression. Like you don't experience extreme highs, and you don't get into real low lows, and so it's just a flat kind of like kind of
Mhm.
energy throughout life, right? Like so exciting things would happen, and I would just feel like internally, that was okay, that was cool.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it wasn't like the exuberance and joy. And then when I was in my doctoral program, like a lot of doctoral students go through this, and it was just life and parenting and all of that. And I ended up in a really deep depression.
Mhm.
But I was a functional depressant. So like I still got up, I worked my jobs, I parented my kid, and I went to school. But I was like, I was on autopilot.
Yep.
And it had gotten to the point where I just knew I couldn't keep going on like that. And I was like, there's gotta be something satisfying in life. And so I went to my therapist, which really helped. And I ran track when I was in school when I was younger. And I had really got into fitness and exercise in like my late teens. And then I've stopped for a long time. And so exercise I knew was something to help that would help me cope. And so I started running. I used to run track. I used to sprint. I didn't run long distance, so I started jogging. And that just tremendously helped me so much. And so I just did that for so long until it got to the point that I was just running so much that the long lasting effects, that helped to break up some of the cloud of depression, it wasn't working as effectively. So I saw this, I think it might have been on Facebook or somewhere, and I saw this advertisement for this. It was a women's, it was called Fit Like a Fighter, and it was a women's fitness class, but it was MMA training, right?
Okay.
Like so with kicking and punching and things like that.
Uh-huh.
So and I was just looking for something to change up my running. So I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. So I
Mhm.
went, and it was at the gym that I'm at now. I was at Rufus Sport, and I went, and then they ended up canceling it. And the owner told us, he was like, why don't you try the actual kickboxing classes? He was like, you'll get in just as good, or if not better shape, actually doing the technique. And what I liked about it is that I was getting the fitness benefit, but it didn't feel like exercising because I was training. And so like it was like it gave me, other than like just general fitness, like you might have a body goal, but you
Uh-huh.
don't have a real way like to create a measure of progress. Like, like what's my next goal? My next goal. And so like for this, my goal was always to like get better, get promoted, and just be better, be good all around. And so once I did that, I was hooked. I was addicted. So I did and it helped me so much because I was in my doctoral program. And so it really just helped with stress relief. And so I
Yes.
started doing that, and it helped with my overall mood and depression and like all of that. And then I started doing that. Then a couple years after that, I started grappling. I started doing jujitsu.
Okay.
Same thing. It was a new thing.
And you
I
did
just love
all of this at Rufus Sport, right? You still have
yep,
education?
yep.
Okay.
There's I think I'm wearing my yep, that's what I was
Girl, let
wearing.
me tell you a funny story about that, about the Rufuses, okay? And then we're gonna get back to you because your story is incredible.
Thank
So
you.
many years ago in a land far away, when I first started competing in karate tournaments, right? And I was in
Uh-huh.
the Kiwi division, maybe 10 years old, right?
Hmm.
So I'm all excited. I get to go to my first tournament. And my mother comes, and my father's there, and I'm just like, I'm just so excited because they're over there watching me, and I'm just so. at that time, of course, they hadn't started separating the boys and girls from one another, right?
Okay.
So I get paired up with, I think it was the middle brother. I think it was Tom. Tom,
Okay.
because I know Rick was older, and Tom, and then I
Yeah.
think Jeff was. I think it was whoever was in the middle.
Duke,
Was he? Is he the middle brother?
he might be.
Who would whatever the middle one? Whatever the middle one. I thought his name was. I thought it was Tom, but maybe that's
Okay.
what maybe that's who they called Duke. But anyway, so I get paired up with him. So we fighting. Girl, I ran into this sidekick, and that was just like, oh my God, he just kicked the wind out of me. And so I I kind of like bent over, and I had never been kicked like that before. I'm still new. I'm probably a yellow belt or something.
Uh-huh.
And my mother, she's looking, and she's like, she was like, she never came back to another tournament after that. She said, I just can't see my baby getting kicked. Like, she never ever came back. But what he did for me was sent my butt back to the dojo, train hard, because I said, I'm not gonna ever let that happen to me again. So he really kind of was, he probably doesn't even know this, but he was an inspiration for me to just really get on my grind.
That would be so ironic.
This was over 40 years ago.
That would be so ironic if I was Duke, because he ended up turning into a multiple world kickboxing champion.
It's
So you get
crazy. That's bananas. So whenever I hear that name, I'm like, yeah, he helped get my feet wet and we were just like I said, this was point karate, but back in the day before they started, separating the boys from the girls or whatever. And yeah, he sent me back to the dojo to, get back on my grind. So tell him I said thank you. I turned out all right after that.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So how is the ranking system in because I know it's probably a little different than it is in like karate. How is the belt system? How is that in jujitsu?
So it goes from white to black, and then there's some intermediate belts. So like for the kids, for the juveniles, there's a yellow and an orange belt. Some programs have a white belt, a green belt, a blue belt, a purple belt, brown belt, and black
It's kind
belt.
of the same then. It is
Yeah.
kind of sounds like it's the same as karate. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for whatever reason, I don't know why I thought the belt system was a little different, but
Yeah. And we get stripes, we get increment stripes. And so
okay.
after you get 4 stripes on a belt, then you qualify for the next belt.
Oh, okay. And so now what level are you now?
I'm a purple belt, and I have 1 stripe. I just got my first stripe.
So you just a couple of belts away from your black belt then.
Brown. A couple of belts, but a few years, like some years, but yeah. So I would need all 4 stripes on my brown belt or my purple belt to qualify for a brown belt, and then I would need 4 stripes on there to qualify for a black belt.
Okay.
So some years, but I'm just enjoying the journey. When I received my blue belt, I turned it down. I was like, I'm ready, because I was competing and I had one goal yet, and so I was like, I ain't ready. And even my purple belt, I was like, are you sure? Because for me, that's not a driver for me. Like, it's nice to be validated, and recognized or whatever, but that's not a driver for me. My drivers, I just love it so much. It's my passion. So
how often do you compete?
I was, up until COVID, I was competing about 4 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So
COVID has made things a little challenging, a little different now on the mat, right?
They've had some tournaments, but the last 2 tournaments, I was actually going to compete in the last one, but I didn't have an opponent. And once you get past blue belt here in Wisconsin, it's really difficult to find women that's fighting in your weight class and at your belt level at these local tournaments, because it's Wisconsin. It's just, smaller, so it's fewer women here. So I didn't have an opponent, and sometimes, if they don't have an opponent, they'll refund you, or they'll combine you with another bracket, like with people out of your weight class and stuff like that. Okay. And largely a lot of the tournaments, you compete by age too. So they have a master's division for 30 and up. And most of the local tournaments that I've done, there would never be any women or enough women. So I've been fighting adult pretty much since I've been competing. So last year I had one of my opponents was 19. I was like, girl, my daughter's older than you, like the same age as you.
Look, girl, you look young anyway. I'm sure they probably didn't even believe when you told them what your true age was. They probably didn't even believe it. But let me ask you this. So then, so with the competing, I know, like with COVID being what it is now. So even with the training, so when you like preparing for a competition or whatever, so how are things different now? Because I know you all have to still be kind of up close and personal, because especially the ground fighting and whatnot. How do you, what kind of adjustments have you all had to make with your training now?
Yeah, well, you can't be in the gym off the mat without a mask on. And at first we were in jujitsu wearing a mask, but it just was it was hard to breathe. It was a little unsafe, and you just sweat so much wearing that kimono.
Mm,
So there's that. And then, like I did supplemental training just because I'm older. I'm in my 40s, and like I like a couple of times a month I would go to the gym and do some light like conditioning and stuff like that. So it kind of put a damper on that, like my ability to go and train, at the gym or like running,
mm,
like I'll go run on a treadmill to work on my conditioning, stuff like that. Like it put a damper on that. Like I'm not as that, but I think that with the competing is probably where I see it the most. So the last couple tournaments they've been holding in the Dells, and which really it doesn't suck, but it certainly adds to the level of anxiety and things you need to think about when you're competing versus getting up on competition day, on tournament day, and driving across town to go
yeah.
compete, and now you got to drive like an hour and a half away. So that definitely is. And some of the local tournaments that used to come really frequently, they just haven't been here.
Mm,
And the people that have been competing in jujitsu, they've gone to Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin Dells. So I've seen it, I think, the most with the competitions.
okay. So, but they are still doing it. They are still competing. They
Some
are.
of the local ones, but like the big one, like IBJJF, where you get rankings and stuff like that. Like last year, they completely canceled all of their tournaments, and I think they canceled them. No, they didn't. There's not as many, but I've seen some. I know there's one in Orlando next month.
Oh,
But
nice.
for a while, they had canceled their tournament, so that was probably, like I said, that's probably like the biggest thing that I saw. And when I actually went to the last couple tournaments, even though I wasn't competing, I was going to help coach, and I was just talking to people there, and like there were some people who were competing that this was just last month in January, that
Mhm.
they were saying that their gym had just opened up like that month or the month before, so their gyms have been closed since the quarantine.
Okay, so almost a year then.
Yeah, so there were people who just hadn't even been able to train.
Yeah, it makes it hard. It makes it, well, I know it makes it hard for a lot of people, but it really, really hard for, for us martial artists because we like to
Yeah,
be, we like to be around each other. We like to
yeah,
be, to have that, I mean, Zoom is cool. I train on Zoom, I teach on Zoom, but I like the hands on. You know what I mean? I like to, we like to just get up. I mean, and try stuff out and be in each other's face. And so yeah,
it's
it's been
different.
a
Yeah,
real
it's different.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, but
but like you said, we're Geminis, we're adaptable, so it's not, it's just different, not
yeah,
worse, just different.
yeah, just different. You're right. And then so how many so let's talk about I wanted to talk to you about women. Are there a
Mhm.
lot of women who train where you train, and how important do you feel that it is for women to know some sort of self-defense or martial arts or to train? And because we know it's empowering, but to get
Yeah.
that message across, how what's your take on the women who
It has ebbed and flowed over the years. Just up until recently, I want to say last year, there was a really good core group of women that we all became super, like really, really good friends, like very, very close.
train?
And we just trained together every day. I had been training a little longer than them, but that didn't matter. We rode together. We competed together. We used to travel in packs to tournaments and go compete.
Okay.
It was really good. So it'll ebb and flow. Like there's still more men overall than women, but it'll ebb and flow. We'll get some women in kickboxing, like a nice group. There's a woman fighter.
Mm,
She fights for the PFL, and I've been training with her for years. She was one of the first people to work with me because she had started jujitsu before I did. So she was one of the first people to work with me. So
okay.
and we have women that fight. Like we've had women fighters and stuff at the gym. So it ebbs and flows. It just kind of depends.
And I know
But
the numbers
I
even smaller for the Black Girl Magic women. Are you
yeah,
the only one or two? Is it two of you or maybe
it's
three? Two.
well, there's a couple of newer women. I just don't know them yet because they're very, very new. But there's one other woman, Natasha, that she's been with me for years. I mean, she's trained there for a couple of
You
years. I
teach
think
as well
two.
too, right? Are you teaching, right? You teaching women? You teach women?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's where you were talking about the importance of women. And
Mhm.
so just when I started off, I had, like I said, that one woman, she used to work with me, and there were two other women that were fighters, but I didn't really train with them a whole lot. When I started jujitsu, the striking was different. It really didn't matter if I had a man or a woman as a partner. But
Mhm.
with jujitsu, because the ground fighting was just so new to me, I ended up just having most of my partners, my training partners were men. And like that, I mean, and some of these like people today are some of my best training partners. I love rolling with them. I love sparring with them. But
Mhm.
you know, it's a difference when you train. It's a difference when you spar with a woman versus when you spar with a man. Like in prepare, it's sometimes in preparation for tournaments. You know, I would feel like
An
I would
edge,
kind of,
right? It gives you an edge.
yeah, yeah. Well, yes and no.
No.
Yes, because like for ground fighting, like some women tend to be more flexible, and so there are some submissions or there's some moves that you wouldn't necessarily try on them because men don't tend to be as flexible.
Mm,
And so, you know, there's that. But as far as like the strength advantage, absolutely, because you just get so strong working with people that are bigger than you all the time. You're grappling and controlling their body that you just you develop this upper body strength. And because I was never working with, you know, people my size. And
oh,
then and so that ended up shaping the way that I like train. Like I just was more of an aggressive roller. Like I would just spar more a little more aggressively, not to hurt people, but you know,
mhm.
I just was always kind of aggressive. And that was just because I had to do that for survival with the men. You know, I had to hold my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so but I think it's really important. Representation always matters. You know, if you see people that look like you're more likely to go, I can do that too. And I have a great story about representation that I tell all the time. I
Okay.
was at this tournament a couple years ago, and there was this kid. Oh, he was so sweet. Him and his mom used to come in all the time,
Mhm.
and train. And it was his very first tournament. He was black. It was his very first tournament. And I had gotten there a little early because my niece does jujitsu. And so I was there to watch her matches. I was competing that day too, but I got there early to watch her match. So
Mhm.
I was walking past and he stopped me. I like seen him in passing, like I kind of said hi, and I might have said hi to his mom a couple times, but we had never really talked.
Mhm.
And I walked past him and he was crying and he had his head in his mom's chest. And I like walked past and then he stopped me. He was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? Are you okay? Like you hurt?" And he was like, and then he just was like sobbing. And then she's like, "Well, he this is his first tournament and he lost his first match." And I stopped him and I said, "Child," I was like, "Look around this gym and you tell me, count on your hand how many people that look like you." And he was like, "It's only a couple." I said, "Exactly." I said, "The fact that you show up and this is what you chose to do on Saturday," I was like, "You already won. That's already gold medal status." I'm like, "What other kids your age, what did they choose to do, wake up and do on Saturday morning? Eat cereal and watch cartoons? You chose to get up and put your body through this unnecessarily. Like there's not, you get a medal from this, but what overall, like, like what else are you getting out of it? And your mom had to pay for it. So you actually are paying for it. So the fact that you chose this, I was like, you already won." And I was like, that, like, what happens in a match or whatever, I was like, that is not determinant of your journey, who you are as a martial artist. I was like, that you just need to stand and be proud, no matter what the outcome of your matches today. I said, just be proud of yourself that you at such a young age that you're so focused, driven, and motivated that you chose to come here on a Saturday morning and do this.
Oh.
And yeah, he didn't place, but he ended up winning, I think, at least one match. And I saw him at the gym later and I talked to him and he like almost started crying. He was like, "Thank you so much." He was like, "It's nice seeing somebody that looked like me."
He'll never forget that either. He won't
No,
never
I'll never
forget
forget that. I
that.
will never forget that.
Yeah, and I'm sure his mom appreciated that too.
Yeah,
Right.
representation
It
matters.
really
It
does.
matters.
It
He
really,
said
really does.
he said that it felt good to see somebody that looked like him doing what he was doing.
That's what's up.
Mhm.
What's up. That's wonderful. And so you so I think I was reading because I didn't get a chance to get your bio. I sent an email. I don't know if it came through or not, but I was just kind of going through some of your things on your Facebook and I saw that you you're teaching an all women's class for so that's like a first, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I had asked for an all women's class because like I said, the group of women we had left. And so that was representation, right? Like so other women come in and see a big healthy group of women like I want to train. And
That's
so like after COVID, that impacted our numbers and things like that. And some of the women in the gym, like I was close with and the other than the woman that's a fighter, I was one of the I was like the second, highest belt woman there, like a regular student, like a hobbyist, not a fighter or whatever. And so some of the new women that came in, they would just gravitate towards me. And I've always kind of been like the ambassador for women, like unofficially. Like they would, like a new woman would come in and they would automatically send them to me.
yeah.
Well, I just wanted them to feel comfortable and stay.
Yeah.
Because martial arts is so empowering. And I didn't want them to stay for me. I wanted to stay for them because it just made such a big difference in my life. It helped my mental health. It helped me with my mental health. It helped me with my self-confidence. It helped me with discipline. And so I just wanted them to feel like receive the benefits that I did. And so I asked and they accepted and they've always been supportive too. Like the owner, like Duke, he's always been super supportive and like empowering for women. He has a daughter. He has a young daughter. And so, like that it was a no-brainer. And
That's
me
so
saying me coaching first, like so I'm the first woman coach that they've ever had, jujitsu coach that they've ever had. And then when I got the class, so
like magic. That hadn't
I'm
happened there before. I know that hasn't happened there before. So
yeah, I'm teaching the first all women's only jujitsu class that they ever had, and I'm the first women's instructor. So that's historical.
Congratulations. That's a big deal, Dr. Tucker. Look at you just breaking all kind of barriers, girl.
I'm just following. I'm just following my heart. Following my passion. Yeah.
And like I said, ordered steps. And see, you thought you were going there for one thing, and then look at all these other reasons why you needed to be there. You know what I mean? So so dope. That is so cool. Well, kudos to you and continue to train and do great things. I know you will. And let's see. So what other things do you have? You mentioned something about you got some research and something. What do you have like going on? Do you have any special projects that you might be working on now? And then
this is the very, very beginning phases. I'm trying to work with it's a bunch of faculty researchers across I think Marquette and I forgot what the other institution is. And it's actually this is interesting. I'm gonna try to make this really short. So I've always done community work and I've always done
Friday
community.
night. You my date because I ain't got nowhere to be.
Okay. So I've always done community work. And so people in the community kind of like folks kind of know me. So there was an opportunity. There was this program at Turner Hall, and the person who is over Turner Hall now, he used to be the executive director, I believe, of the ACLU. And so I did some work with the ACLU. And so they had grant funding for this program, and it was like a wellness program, like a community wellness, but it's specifically focused on Black and Latinx populations, and specifically Black and Latinx folks who were doing community work. So it was the community giving back to the people who were giving so much of themselves. And so they had like this holistic program, like there was a recreational part, and like it was a grant. So like it was data driven, like they collected data, whatever, to measure the outcome. And so like part of it was there's a recreational part where and it was for adults, and so they would go up and they could play video games, like socially distanced video games. It was super cool. And then there was a yoga piece, and then they asked me to do a fitness piece, and so I went in there and did some fitness. It was just like a 4-week program, I think it was. So I went in there once a week and we did some fitness. And so through that, I met a professor at Marquette who they connected me with. Amelia was like, "Oh, you got to meet Noelle. She's into like women's empowerment and she's got this really cool project." So I ended up talking to her. She's doing research and she started a gym in El Salvador. And it's a community gym, and she's a professor, but she's a power lifter. And so she wanted to empower the community there by building a powerlifting program. And so she talks about how at first she was it was a gender-based empowerment. And so when she talked about that, she automatically was, not automatically, but kind of thinking of women. But the community residents was like, no, boys and men actually here are suffering the most. And so some of their issues are state violence and police brutality, the same issues that they're looking at the Black Lives Matter movement and the work that the activists have done here around police brutality, they're looking at that because they're in El Salvador, they're experiencing state violence, state sanctioned violence. The challenging thing is that these are people that look like them, right? So it's El Salvador. And so she goes back frequently, and she's talked about like the successes and what that powerlifting program. So, her and I were talking about me being in the martial arts. And so we were just saying like, what if we could build something like a holistic wellness program, get some grant funding and do something like that here, as an empowerment program. And so her program is also located at Marquette. It's called I Lift, I think. And she has a powerlifting program for the students there. And so her and I just started talking, and it just ballooned and spiraled into like this thing. And we were like, oh my God, like for me, one of my areas of research is violent or is trauma. I used to do anti-violence work, but part of my research is also trauma, like racial trauma, economic trauma, sexual trauma. I worked with, I did, anti-violence work. I worked with sexual assault survivors when I was working at UWM in the Women's Resource Center. And so we were talking about that. I was like, what if we were able to, put together something like that and apply for funding and build some community community empowerment program that was focused on, like mind, body, spirit, that included like the lifting program and then in the martial arts. And you came up actually a couple of times today. So this is the first time I brought you up today. We had a Zoom meeting about it. And I was like, well, because we're just trying to see how the pieces all fit. So we're still brainstorming because she already has this program. And so she was just thinking about adding us onto her grant of what she's doing in El Salvador. And I told her I actually want to go to El Salvador and like, and help and work. But she was talking about like building something here, just adding on to the grant she already has. And I said, well, when it comes to the martial arts components, I already know, I was like, I already know an instructor, a Black woman instructor. I was like, so I already know one. And I was like, I'm doing a podcast with her later tonight.
That's so funny. When you said mind, body, and spirit, everything that I've been working on lately for the last 3 weeks, that's been coming up just in that, not spirit, body, mind, but it's been mind, body, spirit, mind, body. And I've been writing it down. And it's been mind, body, spirit. So that's why I looked, I'm like, yeah.
That's what it is. It was the meeting the podcast it's the interview that we're doing. It was preparing you for this.
That's amazing. Oh man, I tell you, the way God works and the way the universe works and the way you down to me in the beginning of this podcast and what's going on with this whole retrograde, whatever Mercury is doing. I appreciate you, Miss Dr. Tucker. I really do. I really, really appreciate you. I'm going to call you because, like I said, I'm on the 23rd, I believe, is when I'm going to be there for at least probably about a week. So we're going to have to get together and and do some brainstorming and stuff. And, and
talk to you because I'm really serious about that. There's if you have the availability
in El Salvador, I'll go there too.
Oh, but so right now we're talking, we're in the developing stages, but we're going to apply for a grant or get added to an existing one. And so the martial arts component, everybody's on board with that because it's new and it's novel. Like the people are getting funded for programs that are working on community wellness, or community trauma. And I haven't seen martial arts in many of these programs. And I'm like, that's one of the things that's going to help us get this funding is because it's nuanced by this martial art. And it's so funny because when I talk to people outside of the community, I've only been doing martial arts for like a little over 6 years, but when I talk to people outside the community, people do treat me like I'm a unicorn. And I'm like, there are other like people of color, like Black folks and Black women, like in the community. But they're like, but I've never met anybody that does what you do. And I was just like, that's representation. That's a problem with representation. I was like, Brazil, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm like the country that had the most slaves dropped off, like that has this huge Black population. Black people do martial arts. They do it in Brazil. I'm like, it's representation
from us. It came from us.
I'm like, you're not seeing it.
No, it's great. Well, that's funny because when you say, it's really funny because when I think about, even when I tell people now, if I meet somebody that I hadn't met before and I tell them where I'm from, they'll be like, I didn't know there's Black people in Milwaukee. I'm like, are you really seriously? Do you still say that really? Do you hear that?
People really say that still.
Come on now.
Get this, Diedra. How about when I was in California, I was in Southern California and people didn't even know what a Wisconsin was. They didn't even know what it was on the map. They didn't know where it was on the map. And I
Oh
said, come
my
on now.
goodness.
I know you had geography in school.
Oh Lord.
It was like, where's
That's
that
what I
at?
tell people all the time. There are some hidden, tucked away gems and jewels of people with
Yes,
mounds of talent that
yes.
have incredible things going on. And if I have anything to do about it, I'm going to be like I said, I'm always thinking about, thinking about home and people from home because it's like, they just, I don't know, we just kind of get I don't know, kind of pushed to the side or maybe they just really don't know. Milwaukee
Yeah.
has some bomb people there. You know what I mean? Well, of course, I mean, it's just like, look at this black girl magic right here on both ends of this screen.
Right? Yes, you
Fantastic
included.
girl,
You included.
so
Yes.
so cool. So yeah, so count me in. Whatever you guys got going on, and we can talk more about it when I come.
Yay, yay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all the way. Yes, count me all the way in. And what else was one more thing that I wanted to mention. Oh man, I don't remember exactly what it was. Oh, contact information. If anybody wants to reach you, say if they want to, if they want to train, because I'm sure some people will be watching here, I'm expecting them to be watching from Milwaukee too.
Yeah.
Do you have like a website that they can contact you at or email address or something like that,
Email.
especially women that may want to, train in your class?
Email. Yep. I teach a women's only jujitsu class Thursdays at 7 o'clock. So that if they want to come in and just try it out, they'll give you a trial kimono. They'll give you one of the kimonos from the gym and you put on a kimono and jump in the class. And like, I've gotten some really positive feedback from the women in the class. It's a regular jujitsu class. It's just that when people walk into, so it's a difference in people's expectations, right? Like, so there are people who are like, oh yeah, I do kickboxing, but they go to 9 rounds. So like that's different than an actual martial arts dojo where you're
Right.
actually training a technique. Like the purpose of things like 9 round is purely fitness.
That's
The
right.
purpose
Cardio.
is
That's it.
yeah, the purpose in martial arts is development as a martial artist,
That's
right?
right. That's
Like
right.
skill development.
Different. So they get
And
intimidated when they come. They're like, oh yeah.
yeah, but for women though, watching that and like we have all these cages, it's a really nice place. We have like we have a couple cages, so they see the cages. We got an octagon like the UFC has, and then we have a cage where the kickboxing class is going on, so people see it, and we do live drilling and sparring, and so people looking at the cage and probably seeing people kick at each other's face and things like that. And then walk back to the jujitsu match, the whole journey from the front door to the back cage can be a little intimidating. And that's actually what most of the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of the women who would come and try out the gym and they would say, I've always wanted to do this, but I feel like it was intimidating. And so our regular classes are large with a lot of people.
Oh,
And if you're new and you're already intimidated before you walk in the door, when you walk in and then like here's a new person and in the class and everybody gonna know you new because they have to introduce you as being new. And
hmm.
so like it's just an intimidating experience. Well, this is the feedback that I've got from some women. And so our jujitsu, the women's jujitsu class, which I love and I wanted to grow, but it's smaller. So and then also I really like the fact that it isolates one population because it allows us to make connections with each other, which is
Yeah.
super important because it's so, it's not as many women in the gym. And so it just because most of my friendships and relationships, they're all martial arts relationships. And I was like, it's something about kicking and punching at
I know.
somebody else's face
I
that
know.
makes you want to befriend them.
That's so true. It's one of my very, very good friends, and her name is Diedra too. And she trains and we practice our knives together. And it's just like it's a bond that you really can't really share with somebody that might not be training, because it's a weird kind of connection, but
Yes.
it's yeah, but well, you get it, you know what I mean? And and being Geminis too, we like things that are like unusual anyway. You know what I mean? It's like not everybody would just because some people I know they're probably like, you've been doing this for so long. What is it that you like about it? I can't really explain it to you, but I know it keeps my sanity. It's what
Yes.
I do to keep sane. And you know what I mean? I would probably go crazy if I couldn't work out, if I couldn't train, this because it's like that's It's what I love to do the most. It's like breathing for me.
Yeah, and the empowering aspect, right? Like, so, and I've shared this before, like I was robbed at gunpoint, and I've had some experiences with violence and assault. And like that, and what that does to you, like the traumatic part of that, and making you just feel so vulnerable as a woman. And so training in martial arts help with the mentality. Like, I don't walk around in fear, and I don't walk around feeling vulnerable or like a victim. Like, I fear no one, not
Totally
just because,
empowered.
yeah, just not just because of what I know how to do. I mean, like, if anything, my training makes me avoid stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this to you so I can go the other way.
Yes. And it
It's not
increases
even
your
about engaging. It's
that's
not even about engaging with people. Anytime I can disengage, that's me. But it's a mental transformation. It is really a different life and a way of living when you walk around fearless.
that's
And
true.
it's hard as a woman to have that type of to be consistent with that type, to even think of yourself actually as being fearless, fearing literally no man, no one. It is difficult to arrive at that place. Even those of us that have been training, or we've been through the mud, and so we're super tough, and we da 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 da. There's still that fear in the back of your mind, and that fear, because that was me. I was just tough, but that was fear that was driving me like that. I'm at peace now, which is how I know I fear no one, because I'm at
Yeah,
peace.
that's beautiful. And then, and another thing too, when I tell women, it increases your situational awareness, because you're
Yeah,
like, you're not like just da 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 da. Like you're gonna be like checking to see every, you know what I'm saying? And things that people don't think about, they just be on their phone, just be like,
yeah,
no, you gotta be. This is a crazy world we're living in now. We gotta, and I know everybody's got guns and all that, but it's still a
yeah.
wonderful thing to know how to.
Protect yourself.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think every woman should know that. Every girl should know that.
To protect yourself. I'm telling you, martial arts, like, I mean, and this is what I remember. I was on the and I was on this anti-bullying committee. I think it was through the city, and the assistant, or I'm sorry, not the assistant, but the DA, John Chisholm, was on there, and him and we were on a break from our committee work, and we were outside just walking, and we were talking about, I don't know how we started talking about martial arts, and I found out that he's a black belt in karate or taekwondo or something like that,
Oh,
and
really? I never knew that. I've taken cases before him before. I never knew
he
that.
And so we were talking, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness!" I was like, "One of my dreams is to bring a program to NPS, like not have it part of recreation, like not as recreation, because like you can find the martial arts classes in their recreational part. I'm like, but a part of like their physical fitness, like in the school, like that kids, like maybe even after school, whatever, but something that's accessible to the kids, because that's one of the issues with martial arts and other extracurriculars is money. Like, you got to have money
Oh.
to do that
And they
stuff, to
used to do
participate.
that, but then they took it all away. They took all of that away because we used to teach after school programs at NPS. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
everything that would be great to have, bring something like
Yeah,
that. And then to
that is
introduce
one of
them
my
to,
dreams, my
yeah,
dream.
introduce them to the ground fighting and all that, what everything that you do to just, man.
That's my dream. I'm speaking that into existence. That's
Yes, well,
what
we
happened.
have some similar goals and dreams. So we'll
Me,
talk more when I see you.
you and I are gonna be, connected in so many different ways, and just bringing an awareness to,
Yes.
one, Black martial artists, two, Black women in the martial arts
Walk.
community,
Yep.
and three, the benefits of martial arts. Like, it is not just about individual training, it's a community team mindset.
Mhm.
So like that for me continues to stoke my passion, and like just sharing it, my love for martial arts and what it particularly has done for me. And so, like, I think that, a lot of folks, if you talk to a lot of fighters, they have those through the mud stories. Like, this,
Yeah.
I grew up this way, I did this, and then martial arts saved my life. And I like, you don't have to have that hard story, but unfortunately, a lot of our Black and brown kids do. And so, like, I would love for them to be able to have something that they are like, this is what saved me, or this is what helped me see. I like, and I've done work on my own. Don't get me wrong. Like, martial arts didn't do all of this. Like, I've been healing. I've been going through, like, I've been on this spiritual journey for the last couple of years, and I've gone through this healing and transformation. And like, I've been putting in the work on myself, but martial arts complements that.
Yes, it does. It really does. And I bet you that, like, that was something that your spirit was
Yes,
reaching for. You just, and it,
yes,
you know what I mean? It led you to that, because
yes.
that was
I
that
know what I'm supposed
warrior.
to be
You're a
doing. Yeah.
warrior, you know?
Yeah, I know what I'm supposed to. Oh, definitely. That's my
You're a
my
warrior.
energy. My spirit is. Oh, I definitely know it's a warrior nature.
Mhm.
It's protection. I
Yeah.
already know that. Children and women. I mean that's it. I'm a peaceful. I meditate every day. I'm a peaceful person, but don't let that fool you.
You
Women,
ain't
I
got
don't.
to get on me, sis. I know we're the same. You know, nice and kind to anybody,
Yeah,
but don't,
yeah.
don't,
When it
don't.
come to when it come to women and children, I'm a monster. You know,
Yes.
I don't put that. That's not. You know, I know I was put on this earth to do something around that, and it's so funny because I always end up getting connected to women and children anyway, in some type of way, in the work that I'm doing, my research, all of that. So I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I was blessed with this fiery spirit.
Yeah.
This that I was blessed with that because
Yeah.
that is the type of energy that I need and that I can use to help protect other people. And I know that's my job.
Yes.
That's what my spiritual purpose here is to empower and uplift. I know that.
Mm. We use some of the same keywords. That's so funny to hear you say.
Like minds, right? There you are. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
What about now?
Now, yay.
Yay! I'm like, oh no, my laptop cut off, but that's okay because I have my iPad right here. No, but that is so funny though, because I said, oh, we use some of the same keywords like the uplifting and empowering the women and children, and yeah, we definitely gonna be doing a lot of work together.
Yeah, well, because this is not our meeting is not our connecting is not coincidental. You
Absolutely.
you think this was you doing this, but this one you.
No, no, it was way the way all this stuff was falling apart, the phones and all everything else. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but the only thing I've been looking forward to is this interview all week long. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be yeah. So, and this is
You're
why.
so sweet. I can't believe you made that poster of me, Deidre. I was like, oh my
Oh, girl, I just think I said, man, she is Black Girl Magic personified. Dr. Tucker, y'all put some respect on her name too.
you know, I mean, straight
Yes.
up, like it actually that came about. I have a friend, she's an MD, and
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about how the other day she was in a room, and I think it might have been a patient or a doctor, but she's had this with patients too, where they assume that she's a nurse or something else other than a doctor, even though she's wearing her physician's uniform and like and like everything. But they want to say, and she's also Latina, and so they want to and so they want to assume something different. And so her and I were talking, and I was like, it's the same thing for me. And I was like, I have had to make people use my doctor title, and I don't even do that. Like I don't. It has not been. Even when I'm teaching, you know, I started teaching, I never like this one semester I was teaching was the same semester I finished and I graduated. And my students asked me, they were like, "Do we have to call you doctor now?" And I was like, "Nah." I thought about it. I was like, "Nah." I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Professor Amber is cool, you know, either one." And then it got to the point where I experienced so many microaggressions around my title. I was just like, "No." And then
Right.
you know this thing came up. I don't care how you feel about Jill Biden, but you know this thing that came up with her where somebody wrote that they wanted her to drop the doctor title because it was pretentious. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, do you know what you have to go through? My mental health, my parents, do you know what we go through to earn these doctoral degrees?
I can't
And
believe
you
somebody actually said that. Wrote
wrote about it. It was an op-ed in a journal article. Google it, because it was all over the internet, and it was like a hashtag movement on Instagram about it. But yeah, they wanted her to drop, and it was a man. He wanted her to drop her doctor title as the first lady because he thought it was pretentious.
As they say, boy, bye.
Yeah, right.
Get on out of here.
And so that came up,
Unbelievable.
and we shared this similar experience. And I was like, I've had that in so many spaces where I've had people assume everything other than that, and I'm like, now you gotta call me doctor. Now I'm gonna
Okay.
make you call me doctor.
Okay.
The
I
people
know that's right.
right, like, why is this even an issue? Like the fact that that's my name now. So
Wow.
use my name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, well, girl, you keep on thriving, you keep on shining, you keep on doing your thing. Dr. Tucker, make them call you that. You earned that. Shoot.
I did. I sure
You
did.
earned it, you know. So I'm so
Like I
proud of
learned
you.
all my belts and martial arts. That's blood,
That's
sweat,
right.
tears, baby.
That's right. That's right. They're gonna be calling you. So is it? Do they call? So do you all call each other? Do they call the black belts? Do you go by sensei in jujitsu as well, or you? What do they?
Professor.
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 Oh, okay. 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 So now is the school, because I know back in the day, Rufus's the Rufus school was, that was like that was way before MMA and all of that though.
Yeah.
They were in, like, was it Wauwatosa? Are they still in Wauwatosa?
Yeah, on
Or
the border, 76th and Blue Mound.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It's in the basement of a building, like it's a strip mall, like it's a bank. There's a Blues Egg, which a lot of people, when they have such good food, Blues Egg, and then there's I think a Buddhist temple, and then so like it's in the basement. But there are signs, so you can say, and when you Google it, you'll see
Okay.
it. But yeah,
Okay.
that's my
Okay.
happy place, my
That's a
sunshine.
place. Yeah. Maybe you can give us a phone number or a website or something, that in case somebody wants to, hopefully somebody will reach out. Some of these ladies out here will come and, check you out and come train with Dr. Amber Tucker, y'all. Get y'all learn how to defend yourselves and look beautiful at the same time while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
maybe I'm gonna try to find you too when I get there. I'm gonna but I'll be talking to you though, so we can meet up. So yeah, so let us know how to.
Yep. I'm just getting. Let me give you
Okay.
I should know this by heart, but it slips my mind right now. So I'm ready to give two
Got it
pieces
on
of
all.
information. So mine personally, and like for kids too,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
children, I see we have a lot of kids that train there, and it's such a help. We have like little kids, and then we have this group of teenagers, and they all they do pancration, which are like juvenile MMA fights. They do
Oh,
pancration. I mean, girls, boys, they train,
hey.
and they're there. Some of these kids, these teens, they're there just as much. I'm there like 5 days a week. They're there just as much as me. Like they go to school and then they come straight to the gym, and like they have friendships now there, and it's just such an empowering place. And I think that and also they have a kids jujitsu program, which is great because it's at the same time as the adults. So a lot of parents will bring their kids and put them in class, and then they'll go take class. And recently, they've changed our Friday night class to a family class. So
Oh,
now the parents and the kids are training together. So I taught tonight, and I had some little babies in my class.
oh.
And I don't know. I'm a professor and a mom, so I'm naturally good with kids,
I get
And
it.
but some of these kids, they were so little. Some of these kids, they were beastie. I was like, wow, well, okay.
Really? That's
You
right.
can
Train
hang.
them up young. Train them up young. That's what's
So
up.
you so we have that, like, so people can train with their kids, train and learn with their kids, and it's so empowering. So
That's
I just can't say enough good things about just the people, like the students. That's my family,
I
you
can
know.
tell you light up
Yeah,
when you talk about it. I'm the same way when I talk about training, so I get it.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
And you
I
said
just
you
feel
go
so
5 days a week. You go 5 days a week. I know you love it.
yeah. And I've been pretty consistent with that schedule. The only time I'm not there as much is if I get super busy and when I was in school. But let me give you this contact information.
Okay.
So if people can contact me directly and I can help
Okay.
answer some questions. Honestly, the best place to find answers to questions is through the gym,
Okay.
and you can just contact them right through Facebook even, and
Okay.
they very quick to respond, and they'll probably set up a time for you to come in and check it out and talk to you about what they offer and things like that. So
The name of
um
it's Rufus. Rufus Sport, right? Was
Yeah.
that the okay. 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 Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love your the picture of you with the was it the one with the shirt and the mouth gear? I'm like, I love that.
That's what they look. That's become my martial arts identity. It's okay
I love that. I love that. That is
when
so fierce.
I go compete at tournaments, like everybody knows because like I have a Wonder Woman mouth guard I had this my last truck that I just traded in. I got it was an F-150, right? And I used to call it the invisible jet, like Wonder Woman. It was white. And I was like, it's just like the invisible jet. Well, because I'm a comic book nerd. I love comic books too. So yep, they can go to rufusport.com, and then there's a request for more information there. And then on the website it lists all the programs that we have, the times. And so that's probably the best way. And then if any women who were interested in that particular class that I teach, they can contact me directly. My email is really easy. It's blackgirlimagine.
I love that email address. I read it one time and I'm like, okay, I got that in my head now. I won't have to even ever look for that again because it sticks.
Blackgirlimagine, yep, at gmail.com. And so people can email me there if they had any specific questions. But like I said, the best part is probably the website. So
and which days do you teach your women's what'd you say?
I need to get by you because I want to start training with you. I want to be aware. Like I want
you let me know. You let me know anytime, girl. I'll send you my Zoom link. We can get on here and train. And you got to come out to Atlanta and hang out too.
My sister lives in Georgia.
Really?
She lives in Griffin. Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's about 45 minutes outside of Atlanta proper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, we're gonna be linking up real soon. And thank you a million times over for your time, for your talent, for all that you're doing. For Black Girl Rocking, for representing the way that you do. You're on the right path, and you are incredible. You really are, and you're beautiful. And I knew you would be this way. I did, and so I can't wait to see you in person and hang out. And I'm a
good time. I'm a real good time.
Yes, ma'am. I know you are.
Geminis are known for their sense of humor, so yes, I love to laugh. Laughing is my love language.
That's wonderful. We're gonna have a great time, and you can tell me some more about this. So 10 more days, right? You said I gotta stay in the house.
You ain't gonna stay in the house, but expect delays in technology. Think about transportation and communication. How you're communicating with other people. Know that people's emotions are all over the place, so people are more prone to have disagreements and conflicts right now. Yeah. So if you find yourself having conflict with people, just know that that's the energy in the air right now, and that you should really reflect on how you want to respond to that, and maybe wait till after retrograde to respond to some folks that you need to respond to. So not isolate yourself.
My circle is so small. I think probably a wider influence, but my circle is like I still have fingers left, but it's like, yeah, I've been feeling something, and that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
Yep. So we're Gemini. We're, like you said, adaptable. If we need to be social, we can. If we need to be isolated, we can. So
Absolutely.
that's my go-to. Is always isolation, and it's easy because it's cold outside anyway. And
right. I
don't need to be interacting with people. I don't need.
Is the snow melting at all, or it's too cold for the snow to melt? Probably, huh?
Girl, we just got some more snow.
Yeah.
Do you know the snow is up past my hips? I think about close to my hip. So we got a couple of big snowstorms back to back, and then we've got this cold snap that's a 10-day, at least 10 days. So this is probably like day 5, where our highs were around 10 degrees. I think today's high was like 10.
Ooh, you think by the 23rd it might be a little warmer?
Girl, no. This is Wisconsin,
brace myself.
Bring some Atlanta air with you. Keep the humidity.
I think my mother was trying to make me feel. She's like, I think by the time you get here, it might be warming up. I'm like, okay. But
y'all always do that.
No. Oh well. You know what? I grew up in it, so I'm gonna weather the storm. It's time though. I got to come home and check on my girl, and then yeah, so we're gonna hook up. So thank
All right.
you. Enjoy your weekend, and you got my number. You got my information. Call me anytime, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you,
And
Diedra.
yeah,
So
count me in on that project. Yes,
okay.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, take care, Amber. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Dr. Tucker. You take it. Make them respect your name, girl.
Now, are you, do I call you Sensei?
Girl, I'm Diedra. But you know what? With the ranks, you know, some people say after fifth dan, they refer to you as master, and I'm a seventh degree. So some people say master Cole, but I'm good with sensei. But I'm Diedra. So yeah, you know,
Master.
we will. You know, I'm like I'm not really into the title thing or whatever. But you know, it's like
But what I realized after this, look, some reflection. What I realized after the reflection, I saw this this post that I needed to strike a balance between celebrating myself and humility and being humble, and that for me as a woman and as a Black woman, that I'm done being humble because I've spent my life trying to make myself smaller to make other people feel comfortable with me. And so I'm not. And I'm going to say that everything in my life that I have, I've earned through hard work and sacrifice. And the things that I've achieved in my life, I've never done them just for myself. I've always done them for someone else. I've always done them to benefit this and benefit that. And those things are my family and my community. And so because I know that what I've done has been about other people, that I deserve to not have to make myself small anymore because I'm doing this for you. So the way that you can repay me back is to respect me by using my title, because everything I've done for this world. I've done for this earth. I'm still doing for this earth, for people, humanity, because I love them so deeply. So you can at least use the
okay. So you dropped a nugget for me, and that was I guess okay. My spirit is letting me know that was for me too. Okay, so I'm gonna have them call me Master Cole, and I'm gonna stop shining away from it. So, that was a great breakdown, and what you said makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So okay, so Master Cole it is. Yes, ma'am. All right, Dr. Tucker. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, dear.
Okay. Take
Okay,
care.
have a good night. Thank you so much. Okay,
You're
bye-bye.
welcome.